Welcome to Cultivated Live for Friday, TGIF, June 21st. It is now, I think, officially summer. My name is Jay Rosenthal. I'm the co-founder of Cultivated Media and the host of this program, Cultivated Live. Since we launched, our goal at Cultivated has been to be cannabis industry first, providing you with the most important, insightful, useful, and timely information. We do that through our daily newsletter at Cultivated Daily. We do that through this daily live stream, which is called Cultivated Live. We would love if you followed us on LinkedIn, subscribe to us on YouTube, get our newsletter in your inbox, which you can find at cultivated.news. Today, I am joined by Lex Corwin. Lex, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are the founder and CEO of Stone Road. We're going to dive deep into Stone Road. But first, welcome. I know that you are on West Coast time, but I won't tell anybody that you're in New York right now. You just got off a red eye, but thank you for making time early this morning to share the story.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad we can. Give us a little bit about the startup story. You don't need to go all the way back to high school, although if you want to, that's good too. But give us a little bit about the startup story of Stone Road.
Yeah, this is always kind of the most fun part, so I won't spare any funny details. Basically, I went to a farm school for a year in high school, came back, was already kind of a rampant pothead, quickly, ordered seeds from Amsterdam now that I had possessed the knowledge to basically grow anything. And I grew cannabis, 4 plants, and ended with one on my neighbor's property on Stone Road, which is in Connecticut, where my parents have a summer house. And, the weed was unsmokable, considering it was, East Coast kind of grown in the woods weed. And so I bought an ounce of good weed, and I bought an ounce of tobacco, and I mixed them, and I started selling Stone Road spliffs in high school. And
did you call it that then?
Yeah,
I love it.
And then fast forward, that was in 2009. So fast forward a long time, like 17 years, I'm still selling joints now without tobacco, and a lot more of them.
Yeah. And you moved from the Connecticut Stone Road to somewhere in California, I presume. What made you start up in California? Was that sort of, let's go where the market is, let's go where the most innovative things are, let's go where the market's legal?
Yeah, I went to college in Portland, Oregon. I was there from 2011 to 2015. And for me, I worked more in cannabis than I actually attended class. It was kind of the medical market there. I'd come from New York, where it was highly illegal. So going to a place where, you could get a medical card in 3 days that would possess you to buy up to 2 pounds, of cannabis, and to do kind of, work fully in the industry with a card was pretty eye-opening for me. I started brokering cannabis. I started working with a lot of growers in the White Salmon Hood River area, which is about an hour outside of Portland on the Washington border. And I basically just worked with these farmers for 4 years and learned, the cultivation side, the manufacturing, processing, distribution. It was a crash course in the cannabis. And then when I graduated, I moved to Orange County in Southern California, worked for a real estate developer for 2 years. And while working for him, I was kind of crafting my own, business idea. I linked up with 2 friends, one from growing up in New York and one from college. We joined forces, and everything went wrong in 6 months. And 7 months later, I was alone running the operation. One had left. Both left in kind of elaborate cannabis fashion, one by basically robbing me at my warehouse at 6 a.m. with a crew of guys, and the other by suing me. So
you got all your bases covered. And what did that?
It was like an MBA in like 6 months.
Yeah, it's like you learned a lot. Like all the positive things you learned in outside of Portland, you brought to Southern California and learned all the negative parts too. And what was the footprint like then, notwithstanding the theft? What was the lawsuit? What was the footprint like then, and what year was that? Remind me.
That was in 2016, 2017
Okay.
season. Yeah, so it was just starting out. We basically, we pooled our money. We bought a piece of basically vacant land. I mean, it had a well on it, but no power, completely off grid, nothing built, no house. Basically had a shed with a well. And I've been developing that land and cultivating there for the last 9 years. The first 3 years in medical. It took 2 years to transition and get our license and finish the build out. Obviously California is very has very stringent regulations on fire safety and all that, and it took a really long time to get up to code. um, you know for considering we paid like $335,000 for the land. We probably spent almost $1.5 million on the build out and getting compliant. Um, and yeah, I've been running that farm for 9 years. I mean, the footprint back then, I mean, we had three small greenhouses and just a few rows of outdoors, and now we have 10 fully auto depping greenhouses, and we've expanded our outdoors tremendously. I mean, we probably have 290 on one property, and then we have the property next door where we have another 180 outdoors.
So that's the full footprint in California, and that's where the brand. I mean, notwithstanding the New York version of the brand or the Connecticut version of the brand, that's where the brand launched. And then, what was the decision to move beyond, or move not just beyond, but outside of California as well? And then, how did you think about new markets and where and how to enter them?
Yeah, it was always a thesis of mine to expand nationally. I knew that California, while being, the biggest by sales volume market in the country and by extension the world, was an important place to be headquartered. But I knew that the reason I started a pre-roll company in 2016 when everyone else was just doing flower and vapes was because I knew that the kind of way that tobacco was always hand rolled pre-World War II, and then when they sent the GIs all like the Lucky Strikes, and then all the media and content came back of all these like American heroes like smoking cigarettes, it obviously moved from like 90% of people rolling their own tobacco to like 3% of people. So it's like that same shift is going to happen in cannabis. I mean, it's a very similar drug. And so for me, it's like, I wanted to get ahead of that. And I also wanted to focus on the branding, the brand story, the packaging. And so, I got a cold email in 2019. This gentleman, Jeremy, who owns 6 dispensaries in Oklahoma, or planned to, basically had the real estate and was getting licenses. And so, yeah, they flew me down. And I knew nothing. And, it was like, we were just really getting off the ground. But they said, hey, we want to license your brand for the Oklahoma market. We went to California and tried every available pre-roll, and we liked yours the best. And, I was flattered. I mean, I was like 25. And so we launched, 6 months later. And honestly, that first, probably $100,000 that we made on selling the packaging, kept us in business probably for the next year.
Yeah. And then you've expanded to other markets too. And is it a similar model where you maybe not get the cold email, but find partners on the ground to say, we want to take this brand to Michigan, New Mexico, wherever you're going? And is it about finding the right partners who have the right facilities, the right sort of ethos? Like what do you look for in a partner in local markets?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's all about the partner. We don't really care. We're state agnostic. It's about the partner. Yeah, we've since expanded to Massachusetts, Michigan, New Mexico, and we are about 3 months from our launch in New York. So we're currently operating in 5 markets, soon to be 6. And yeah, it's about the partner. It's everyone's great while things go well. And then when real issues start to present themselves, you start to see who's a quick thinker, who can pivot to market changes, and who can't. And so we've had to make adjustments here and there on partnerships and processes. For the first 3 years of our out-of-state deals, they were all licensing, just like strictly we would
Mhm.
sell them packaging on a markup and then just help them with brand support, selling into enterprise accounts, yada yada. And now we're pretty much exclusively doing revenue shares. We find that we have more skin in the game. We make more money, even though it takes longer. We basically provide all the packaging for free and get somewhere between like 18 and 22%, depending on the deal. And we like that more because it's one, like guaranteed money coming in every month. And then two, because we are just ultimately selling packaging. It's not, 280E liable. So our tax burden is less than just selling cannabis products in California because the out-of-state business is run by an unlicensed, basically, branding and marketing entity.
Smart. And when do you find that there are certainly either big similarities or big differences in how the brand is received in each of these markets? Or is it, your psychographic that you're going after and sort of price points and all that, and that's the support you provide to your partners, and like that slice of the market is there no matter whether you're in New Mexico, Oklahoma, Michigan, or Massachusetts? Or is it like each market is different enough that you need to sort of help your partners relearn where the product's going and what the audience looks like?
Yeah, each market is different. Different products, different processes. We don't want to launch a SKU in a really competitive subcategory. So, for instance, like in California, our 10-pack are all 0.7s because we know weed is cheap in California and people like slightly bigger joints. And in Massachusetts, we did that same 10-pack, but we shrunk the joints to 0.5 mini joints. That product and SKU was kind of more compatible. There was a bigger gap for that market, and no one was doing like those big joint packs in Massachusetts, and so they were extremely successful on the launch. I mean, I think we sold like 3,000 10-packs in like the first 4 days, and then we're sold.
That must feel good.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we
sold out for like 3 or 4 weeks, and that's honestly been our biggest headache in Mass. I mean, every state has different logistical challenges, but the first year of Mass, we basically could never have product in stock, so we'd sell it to a shop, it would fly, and then we couldn't get them restocked for 3 or 4 weeks, and that would hurt the retail relationship. So we learned from that market. It was only our second out-of-state launch after Oklahoma. So we learned a lot, about cadence and making sure to launch with fewer retail partners to make sure that they're better supported. But yeah, it's all about the partner. When we meet someone or get connected with someone, and we immediately have a shared ethos and ideology on growing and business practices. We then, of course, fly out and tour their facility. Never, if there's any cannabis entrepreneurs watching, never do a deal with someone without touring their facility. If they say, "Oh, we don't use shake and trim in any of our products," and you go and see like 1,000 pounds of shake and trim, it's like, okay, easy detective work. So yeah, going, touring, doing due diligence, talking to local partners, retailers, processors, being like, have you ever had any issues? And just learning as much as we can about our partners. But ultimately, when you go to a grow and it's super well organized, the workers are happy, and you don't see any sketchy pesticides, and they seem to just generally be doing things on the up and up. Those are the people that we want to partner with, because we're in it for the long term. We've been operating for coming up on 10 years, which in cannabis is
it's like a million.
Yeah, it's basically a millennia. It aged me. I'm like looking at this like stressed in.
We can get that taken care of. And you just need a really good camera that has a lens you can fix. I'll send you a link to the camera that I use. Believe me, I have lots of wrinkles, but on this camera, it evens it out. Lex, tell me, you're obviously in New York right now. It's where you are, not where you're based, but where your life was based. Talk to me about sort of what you're thinking about entering that market. I think you said you're 3 weeks or 3 months out. Like, what does that look like for you? And certainly it's the next big one that the industry is looking at. But what does it look like to you when you think about entering the New York market?
Yeah, so the New York market is something that I've been watching extremely closely, not just because I've been living here 50% of the time, but, as a born and raised New Yorker, to be quite honest, I've been selling weed in New York since I was 16 years old. And so for me, understanding that it's an extremely unique market, in that delivery is going to have to thrive because New Yorkers run on delivery. I always joke you can get, Chinese food before your ambulance delivered. And so it's like, having a brand that stands out, because a lot of people are going to be scrolling online and a lot of packaging is just like black Mylars, and having something stark, white, gold foil, beautiful, striking, both on the shelf and living as an e-com image, was really important. I knew the rollout was going to be an absolute joke, probably more than 95% of people, because I had an inside link to someone at the OCM who was kind of telling me the goings on. Plus, we had done launches in 5 other states right around the legalization, catalyst, and it always, and a lot of the times, it goes really bad. And so, New York was no different, of course. And then you throw in a few lawsuits from out-of-state partners challenging the constitutionality of, the law and the delays. And yeah, it's no wonder that the farmers here are really, really struggling. Plus, I mean, the laws as written make almost no sense. They're probably the worst written laws. And that's coming from someone who's been operating in the California market for 9 years.
Right.
They're probably the worst written laws I've ever seen in terms of people who have absolutely no idea, about cannabis, farming, the cannabis consumer. Growing outdoor in New York, it's just the base of the law makes no sense. There's too much moisture, there's too much rain, the plants are shrimps, 80% of them have mold levels that don't pass. It's not a good thing. And I'm a complete outdoor greenhouse evangelist. I mean, that's all that we grow in California. That's all that we source.
You're in California.
Yeah, we don't play in the indoor game, but yeah, my greenhouse in California is night and day from, what the flower looks like in New York. So, for me, not a massive surprise that the, traditional market, legacy market, black market, whatever you want to call it, in New York is massive, because people like smoking California weed.
Who used to be in it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know exactly how it runs.
Yeah.
Well, look, I want to let you get back on your morning routine, which I hope involves some sleep this morning and probably some coffee as well. But I really appreciate the time hearing the Stone Road story. Looking forward to following certainly the launch in New York. I'd love to have you back when time permits.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time and chatting.
You got it. Let me just wrap up the show and get you on your way. That's it for today's Cultivated Live. We encourage you to subscribe to our daily newsletter at cultivated.news. Follow us on LinkedIn. Smash the subscribe button on YouTube. You can sometimes find this streaming on my X or Twitter handle at JAYM Rosenthal. That is it for today's show. Lex, thank you again. We'll be back Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on Twitter, LinkedIn, all the rest, and YouTube. Remember, buy cannabis at your local dispensary. That's how I like to end the show. And everybody have a good and safe weekend. We'll see you next week.